Let's go to this mass deportation policy. I mean, something else that they're definitely carrying out that many Americans are thinking that voted for this, that thought it was going to be something else besides mass deportation indiscriminately, the way that they described it. And Tom Homan doesn't like that people are upset about how ICE agents are treating people.
The masks, I think, are important. How do we get rid of the mask? Stop the hateful rhetoric. Assaults on ICE officers are up over 800%. And
Right.
I specifically mean members of Congress. If members in Congress can compare ICE to the Nazis, that gives some of
Right.
those people on the far left that know that the out of control people. It emboldens them to take action. I'm just asking to let's
Yeah.
stop the hateful rhetoric. And if you question what ICE does, then let's go to Congress and talk about the immigration law and how and what changes are needed. But again, they're simply enforcing the law.
ICE agents run up on people completely masked and violating their rights, arresting American citizens, assaulting people in the meantime, pointing guns, cussing people out in their homes, at their businesses, in parking lots, in public streets, busting out people's windows. All that as they're covering their faces. The problem that is really happening is that people are their rhetoric is way too harsh on these ICE agents. The ICE agents' actions, illegal actions, those no, those aren't way too harsh. It's the rhetoric, specifically coming from Congress members who are bringing this kind of violence and attention towards people who are violent and are attacking people. It's way too harsh. If you guys lessen the rhetoric and start saying, "Cool, come and break the law and take away my rights," maybe we'll unmask ourselves. That's the thought process. People are being too mean, but when Nazis like Stephen Miller are quote unquote too mean, that doesn't make anything worse. That doesn't demonize the people that they're coming after.
Nobody voted to turn Los Angeles, what was once one of the crown jewel cities of Americans, into a third world failed city. Nobody voted for the crime. You know, every day ICE is out there in Los Angeles deporting MS-13 gang members, 18th Street gang members, Sinaloa Cartel gang members, Sureños gang members. You are talking about some of the most violent, sadistic, vicious, heinous people on the face of the earth. Who voted to put them here? Who voted to destroy our public education system, our public healthcare system, our hospital system? Nobody voted for it. You know what they did do? They voted for Donald Trump to clean it up, and by God, he is cleaning it up every day.
Stephen Miller and his weird head are over here talking about the destruction of our education system, our healthcare system, and our hospitals and our infrastructure. The very things that this administration has been doing ever since they came into office. Put Elon Musk's ass in charge, and he ran through the government and destroyed all of those things. Donald Trump signing executive order after executive order, destroying all of those things. Everything is flipped on its head. Everything is gaslit. But this piece of trash keeps coming on TV and talking about how LA is a third world city type of country. But those aren't harsh words that would offend people and maybe make them think that you're the enemy of them. Maybe the fact that you ran up in their cities and you're attacking their families and their communities, maybe it might make them think that you're the Gestapo. But you can call LA a third world city because it's got too many brown people there because you're a effing Nazi. But when somebody wants the identification of ICE agents who are carrying out that policy, the rhetoric is just too hard. Here's more of that tough rhetoric that they don't want anyone else to have except for them. More from this. God, I can't stand this guy.
You know, if you look at photos of the Empire State Building being constructed in record time, by the way, you know what you don't see there are any illegal aliens. You look at the photos of us landing a man on the moon, you look at the NASA control room, you don't see any photos of illegal aliens. Americans built this country, Americans sustained this country, Americans have powered this country for 2.5 centuries.
How does Stephen Miller look at photos of people building the Empire State Building and see that they're not illegal aliens? What is it about those photos that shows him that they're not illegal aliens? Is it just him talking? Is it just him assuming maybe because there was white faces that they're not illegal aliens? I read something that said the many folks who built those structures were Irish immigrants. I don't know how true that is. I just read something about it in passing. But if so, they're immigrants. And the only thing that makes one like that illegal or not or worthy of being here are the laws put in place, or maybe the ways that they've granted citizenship to folks, maybe to do things like that. But he also talked about how this country was built off like the blood, sweat, and tears of people who built it. You know who built this country and its economic successes are the enslaved people that were brutally placed in slavery and damn near had a genocide as they traded them, dispersed their families, and demonized them as percentages of human beings. That's who built this country. But this guy's still talking about the illegal aliens that are running around here. More of this divisive talk from people like him because he's completely consumed with his hatred for anyone else that doesn't look like the trash person that he is. I want you guys to remember from the jump of this, Tom Homan was talking about how there's way too much rhetoric, bad, negative rhetoric from congressional members towards ICE agents, and that's why they wear their masks. Maybe we want to see who they are because the leader, you, Tom Homan, keeps saying things like this.
We are going to prioritize sanctuary cities because we know we have a problem. We know they're releasing public safety threats every day. And I said today at the press conference, we're going to flood the zone of sanctuary cities. We're sending additional agents. We're going to flood the neighborhoods with officers. We're going to flood worksite enforcement. If they don't give us access to the bad guy in Rikers Island or at the precincts, then we'll go to the neighborhood and find them. We're not going to give up on this. We're going to send more resources. Double down, as President Trump said, triple down.
This is the same guy who doesn't want ICE agents to identify themselves because people are too mean to him, as he makes more declarations about which cities he's going to run up in with his private police force that's backing Donald Trump to do whatever they want him to do. We've got polling, even amongst the people who loved their asses, want nothing else to do with them. So the polling has been going pretty bad for them. And Tom Homan, again, the same guy, he has a response to that you probably won't be surprised by.
This is one of this mass deportation program, one of President Trump's signature campaign promises. But there's been a series of polls lately, including a new one from CBS, in which 56% of those surveyed disapprove of the president's immigration stances. That's a 10-point drop from back in February, blamed by some on some of the in-your-face tactics, the masked ICE agents, the detention centers like Alligator, Alcatraz. Why do you think that the majority of Americans right now do not like what they're seeing?
Well, first of all, I don't believe the polls. Second of all, if there's any movement in the polls at all, it's because of the false stories out there about ICE. Like I read in the paper every day that a majority of people in ICE custody are not criminals. Wrong. The majority are criminals. But now the argument is, are they criminal enough? Is a DUI dangerous enough? Well, 10,000 people a year die from DUIs. I think DUI is a crime. So, then you got this whole, back and forth on how serious a crime is it. But I looked at the numbers yesterday. A majority are criminals, have criminal history. Who are the rest of the people in our custody? They're national security threats. They may not have a criminal conviction, but they're national security threats based on intelligence reports. For instance, ICE arrests over 200 Iranian nationals that are currently in custody. Yeah, they're not documented criminals, but they're national security threats. They need to be detained. There's also what we call expedited removal cases. There are certain immigration arrests that we make within the confines of the border within 2 years that we process through expedited removal, which by statute, by federal law, we're required to detain. So that the media just isn't telling the truth about who we're in detention. On the second part of that, I see all the stories that the majority of people ICE arrests are not criminals. That's a fake story. We are prioritizing criminals and public safety threats, but who are the other people you see us arresting? Fugitives, those who had due process at great taxpayer expense. A federal judge ordered them removed. Rather than leaving, they became a fugitive and they're in the wind. The law requires us to execute those removal orders. That's a job for ICE.
He doesn't want to believe the polls that show that more people are against this now that they're seeing that they're doing what they said they're going to do. But on top of that, do you notice the way he's talking about the national security threats and the criminals that they're deporting? The national security threats are based in nothing. He literally just said it. I mean, they're national security threats. And they've already morphed the reality of a judicial process to them just saying what it is. They're national security threats. We've got rid of them all. I just looked at the database the other day, and there's like 100 national security threats that we deported yesterday. Based on what? What are their names? What's the national security threat based on? He doesn't say any of that stuff because it's based on them just saying it. And they have to act like it's an official documentation that's behind it, and all those other things like the expedited process and judges that have deemed someone that needs to be expedited and get out of here immediately. There's a reason why past presidents, Republican and Democrat, have had these large numbers of deportations. People complained about how many deportations Biden had and Obama had. Like they were setting some records, bro. They deported people. We've never had a lack of deportations in this country. I mean, I feel like people should realize that they've been deporting people, and many times it's through those other avenues that he mentioned as normal ones. And on top of that, you've put billions of dollars more towards ICE. You've got them in the streets breaking out people's windows and kicking in people's doors and snatching them off the streets and claiming that because of the t-shirt that they're wearing that they're gang affiliated. That's the difference. But he can't say that. He has to act like he's on the up and up by mixing the normal kinds of deportations with the ones that they're doing now. But on top of that whole thing, what I wanted to make sure that you guys remember is that Tom Homan said, you know, I don't believe those polls. The Economist pointed out that 183 days into this guy's term, his approval rating is down 15%, down 1.2 points since just last week. 40% approving, 55% disapproving, 4% are not sure. Here's a chart that I really want you guys to see, though. So his net approval ratings points, they compared it to Obama in '09 and Biden in '21. But here's Trump. He started just above water. Just that 50% line is right in the middle. He started just above, and now he's 15 points below water on net approval rating. Is dropping. And one of those major reasons is what used to be, oddly, his strongest agenda item, which again was immigration, which what is actually is mass deportation. Here's this next chart. He gives 5 different areas in which he's felt held. Again, that middle point is the 50 is right at the zeroed out line. He was above water on inflation. He was below water on healthcare already and then dropped further. But check out the immigration line at the end. That was his best his best item or his best agenda item, just higher than jobs in the economy, which also was ridiculous that anyone felt. That's dropped from over 10 points above water to now what, about 7 to 8 points below water. Those are the charts and those are the polls that Tom Homan doesn't want you to believe. It's just as easy enough to dismiss him and say we don't believe all the things that he says about how he's getting rid of all the national security threats. You know, the guys that got pulled over without a license,